Welcome to Pediatrics. COVID in kids. So there are two concerns now. One is the genetic modifications that is happening to the virus. Delta, Delta plus Lambda, there are a lot of varieties coming up. The second thing is, are kids more vulnerable to infection in future waves? So the first thing is the genetic modifications which are happening. That is bound to occur. When the generation of virus goes on, there will be genetic modifications. But as of now, these modifications have come up in such a way that the transmissibility or the communicability has increased. The disease severity as such has not changed. So that is one good thing. The second thing is vulnerability of kids. So most of the adults are getting vaccinated, and the kids less than 18 years or the people less than 18 years are still unvaccinated and they are still continuing to be vulnerable. The people who have got vaccinated are moving around more and they can act as carriers. They can carry the virus from outside to home and give it to kids who are staying at home. So definitely, theoretically, there is a possibility that kids are going to get more and more exposed to the virus. But luckily, most of them, like 95% of them, will have asymptomatic infections. Only a small group are going to have symptomatic infections, which is not going to be very rare because more and more kids are going to get exposed to the virus. Now, the disease severity. As mentioned earlier, 95% of them have asymptomatic infection. 5% of them can turn symptomatic, out of which most of them are have mild disease, mild symptoms, fever, sore throat, diarrhea, cough, running nose, vomiting. This scenario, the mild disease can be managed at home just by symptomatic treatment. Give paracetamol for fever, give nasal drops for nose block, give lukewarm water, little bit warm water to control cough. So these are the mild symptomatic treatment for the disease. Then next is moderate disease, where along with all these symptoms, the babies can have fast breathing and drop in oxygen saturation. These babies have to be managed at the hospital. Along with the previous supportive treatment, the babies may require antiviral therapy, antibacterial therapy, sometimes IV steroids, and definitely the baby has to be managed in the hospital. Then next is severe disease, where the kids show symptoms of pneumonia, where they have saturation dropping below 90%, the respiratory rate is more, along with other symptoms of respiratory distress like retractions, grunting, those kind of labored breathing. And they can have involvement of other organ systems like lethargy and increased sleep, convulsions when there is a CNS involvement, severe abdominal pain, loose motion and vomiting when there is a gastrointestinal tract involvement. When there is a blood clotting involved, they can have thrombosis, they can have bleeding manifestations. In lab parameters, you will find prolonged PT, APTT values. Or they can have more severe symptoms like ARDS, shock, where the BP is very low, multi-organ dysfunction, and thrombotic phenomenon. So these kids have to be managed in ICU. Along with the previous treatment, these kids may require ventilation and further management. Another situation is MISC, multi-system inflammatory syndrome, which is seen in kids who have recovered from COVID infection 1 to 2 months after the recovery. The problem which we usually face is there may not be a documented evidence of a first infection, but the circumstantial evidences have to be collected, and we have to presume that we already had a COVID infection when we suspect a multi-system inflammatory syndrome in these kids. It occurs in people less than 19 years of age, and the symptom starts off with fever which is lasting for more than 3 days, along with other system involvement. They can have mucocutaneous manifestations, redness of palms and soles, the face looks red, there is inflammation of the mucosa, the conjunctiva is too red, or they can have symptoms of cardiovascular involvement, the BP going low, fatigability, the heart is not able to pump properly, or they can have involvement of GI tract where they have severe diarrhea, vomiting and abdominal pain. Or so the symptoms are quite varied, involving other organ systems as well, and they can show lab parameters which is suggestive of inflammation. high ESR, high CRP, high procalcitonin, along with a positive COVID-19 documented earlier or later. And one thing is we should be ruling out all the other possible infections which can cause these symptoms. Another scenario is a pregnant lady is COVID positive. What happens to the newborn? There are three possibilities of the newborn getting infection from the mother. One is vertical transmission through the placenta, which is very rare. Second is intrapartum transmission, which occurs during delivery, which is again very rare. Third is horizontal transmission. After delivery, the mother gives the infection to the child through the usual methods, respiratory spread, formite spread, and things like that. So the question is what to do with breastfeeding. So the recommendation is that breastfeeding should never be stopped. The advantages of breastfeeding outweighs the risk of getting a COVID-19 infection. Even if the child gets an infection, it's most of the time going to be a mild infection. But mother should take all the precautions to prevent the infection. So mother should be breastfeeding with a mask on. She should be ensuring her hand sanitization. And when not being breastfed, maintain social distance. That is, maintain at the beds should be kept at least 2 meters apart. Or another possibility is the child is taken care by a COVID negative caretaker but is being fed on express breast milk from the mother herself. Multisystem inflammatory syndrome in neonates. Just as in older kids, these symptoms can occur in neonates as well. But it is very rare. Usually, MISC is seen in kids 5 to 19 years, less than 1 year. The possibility of getting multisystem inflammatory syndrome is very rare. If at all though they get those symptoms, the kid has to be managed in an ICU with all the supports, including ventilation if needed. The long-term implications of COVID infection, that is one major concern. The child had COVID infection probably with mild symptoms, but what is going to happen to my child in future? As of now, there are no studies showing long-term implications. The only one theoretical possibility is when a neonate gets a COVID infection, it can cause remodeling of his or her respiratory system, and the child can become vulnerable for development of asthma later on. So hopefully this relieves some of your tension regarding COVID infections, and you will be more aware or more alert about the symptoms and the danger signs of the disease. Happy parenting.